Hey, Bruce here, the 5-Minute Handyman. I am doing some tiling in a niche box and wanted to show you how to do that. So let's take a look at some of the hardware and we'll talk about it. What I'm doing is I'm going to put some tile in the back of both of these boxes. I've got these 1-inch square tiles. This one's a full sheet. It's just folded in half, and this is a half a sheet. This is 6 inches here, and this is 12 by 12, and so this is 12 as well. So let me show you how I'm going to go ahead and do this. What we're going to do first is I've got a sponge, a rag, a V-notch trowel, and a margin trowel with my thin set. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this thin set and put it on the back wall. And my goal here is to get full even coverage with the thin set, and then I'll use the V-notch trowel to get it to the right amount of thin set. Alright, so I want to make sure I wet it nicely to this backing. So this spot here is not wet, nor is this one. So I have to go back over it to make sure that it sticks. And by wetting, I mean that it's sticking nice and firm to the backing. And I want to make sure I get all right up in the corners and the edges. And the smaller these boxes are, the more difficult it is to get the thin set where we need it. Okay, so now I have it wet nicely to all the surfaces of the back where I'm going to be putting the tile. And so what I'll do now is I'll take my V-notch trowel and I'm going to just go over this a couple of times. I can do this direction and then I switch around and do the other direction. I could go up and down. I just need to make sure that I have enough coverage and it's uniform. Alright, that looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I have also a couple of spacers, and I'm going to take and put these in the bottom, and I'll put several across here because this tile mat that I'm using is somewhat flimsy, and so I just want to be able to support evenly across the bottom of my tiles. Okay, so this is that's what we're doing with those. Okay. All right, so I've got thin set on here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up my flat mat here and I'm going to just center it in this opening. And I want to make sure that I'm pushing the tiles into the thin set that's here. I don't want to over push them. So what I'll do is I will use, let's see, we're going to use a grout float, okay? And so this is a good way to get all of these nice and flat. I'm just giving it a nice push. All right, and I can feel it. It's nice and flat. I want to make sure that everything is straight. I have straight edges. Otherwise, when I put in my other tiles, and I'm going to use this as my, I'm going to cut these and put these on the sides and the bottom and the top all the way around for both openings. And I just want to make sure that when these are in here that I don't have crooked looking edges for my mat. Okay, so that's perfect. It's exactly where I wanted to be with that one. So now we'll go ahead and do the same thing with this bottom one. I have the sponge here so that I can go ahead and wipe down any thin set that gets on top of my tiles. But if I'm doing a neat job, which tiling you always want to try to be as neat as possible, then you minimize the mess of the thin set, because you need to get the thin set off the tiles before you grout. And if you don't get it off when it's wet, it is very difficult to do. I do have a video on how to remove thin set that might be up in between the tile spaces, and would encourage you to take a look at that. It's underneath my tiling playlists, and you can see how I do that. Okay. All right. So again, we want to make sure that we get this nice and covered, nice even coverage, and then I'll take my V-notch trowel, go across. It doesn't matter which direction we go. This top one I went up and down. It just is important to make sure we have nice uniform peaks and valleys. We can see here that in the center here I don't have solid valleys and peaks, and so that means that there's not enough thin set there, so I have to go back and add some more to that. And then once I get it a little bit more uniform, then we're ready to put our tiles on. Now the thin set will do that also if it is too dry, and so we also want to just make sure that we're not using our thin set for too long of a period, and otherwise it will dry out and we won't get good adhesion. Okay, so now I take my second tray and put some of these spacers underneath here so I get it nice and uniform. Okay, we'll place this in here. Make sure it's straight and level. Okay, and what I'm doing is I'm just eyeing to the side, and we'll use our grout float to push it in to get good adhesion and good coverage. And that's pretty much all that's involved. You can see I do have some grout on here, or some thin set rather. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sponge and I'm going to wipe that off and just make sure I don't have any on any of the tiles, so that when I'm ready to do the grouting, it makes it easy. So that's the process. Now with a mosaic set like this that's on a backer, I just need to give this a nice visual to make sure that the tiles, especially these corner ones, are not twisted, because they can twist because the backing is a very flimsy kind of backing. And I just want to make sure that everything is straight, so I have nice even grout lines, and I've got my lines lining up for both of these boxes. So this is smooth, it's flat, and so what I'm going to do is just go ahead and clean off the excess thin set here. I'm going to let these set. I have some other things I'm going to be working on, and so I'm going to let these set, and then when I start cutting tiles for the wall, I will cut the tiles for here, and then we're going to put a curdy edging around those tiles as well. So that's the process for installing a small grid of tiles, and we could do this on a backsplash, we could do this in a niche box, or wherever we want. So thanks for watching. I would love to have you subscribe to my channel, and if there's some things you'd like me to show you how to do, please leave it in the comments. Thanks for watching.